The Holy Gospel according to St. John, the 8th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Then Jesus said to the Jews who had believed in him, "If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." They answered him, "We are descendants of Abraham, and we have never been slaves to anyone. What do you mean by saying you will be made free?" Jesus answered them, "Verily, truly, I tell you, everyone who commits sin is a slave to sin. The slave does not have a permanent place in the household. The son has a place there forever. So if the Son makes you feel free, you will be free indeed." The Gospel of the Lord.
So when I was in seminary a very, very long time ago, one of our standard jokes was that when Lutherans talked about the 7 last words, we usually were not talking about the 7 last sayings of Jesus from the cross. Instead, we were usually referring to the 7 last words, which are frequently the final words in a congregation's decision-making process. Those words are, "But we've always done it that way." We've always done it that way. And in fact, although we often complained about the tendency of people to want to put the wheels in the rut and just keep on doing things exactly the way we had done them always before, there was often a feeling that, we had figured out what worked to make churches run well, and so we should just keep on doing those same things over and over again. And while I can't remember anybody at seminary actually saying this, the impression we often got was that we had figured out how to share the gospel of Jesus with people in our congregations, in our communities. We knew the programs and the things that we needed to do. Oh, yeah, sure, we knew that we would have to tweak a few things, perhaps use the latest and greatest Vacation Bible School program put out by the church publishers, or incorporate some new music. But the feeling often was that, if you just kept doing things that you were doing and you did them well, things like preach good sermons and have good worship services and inspiring Sunday school, you could just put the wheels in the rut and keep doing ways that we had always done until Jesus came. And it was often the case that when we got to our annual celebration of the Reformation, we felt the same way. Reformation Sunday became the day when we remembered that Martin Luther had reformed the church 500 years ago. He and other reformers had figured out what needed to be done to make the gospel a real and living reality in the lives of people around them, and all we had to do was keep on doing the same things until Jesus came, and all would be great. We even sometimes used today's gospel reading, which is appointed all the time for Reformation Sunday, to reinforce that belief. Jesus says, "If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples." And we read that to mean that, if you just put the wheels in the rut and continued on doing the things that Jesus told us to do, we would be good to go. Except here's the thing about that verse. The word that we translate continue is the same word that Jesus uses later in John's Gospel to describe the relationship between the vine and the branches. There, the word is translated abide. But that word means that you remain connected, and that you grow, and that you develop, and that you bear fruit. It is not a static word that means keep on doing things just the same way that you have always done them. And that means that continuing in Jesus' word means staying connected to Jesus in ways that may be different from other people. Continuing means constantly being open to growing in your faith, even through events and experiences that you may not have planned and that sometimes are not happy experiences for you. And continuing means being willing to do the hard work of bearing fruit, the fruit of God's love in the lives of others, even in ways you didn't expect, and sometimes even in ways that maybe you don't enjoy. In fact, continuing, the way Jesus uses the word, is the exact opposite of the way we've always done it. And while some things are worth doing again if they still work, Reformation is always about being open to growing in our faith in ways that connect more deeply with God and which grow and develop, and which aren't the same for each person, each congregation, or each season in the life of the Christian community. One of the traditions, that great traditions that we have had here at Prince of Peace, is that on Reformation Sunday we hear faith statements from some of our confirmands. Council has the opportunity each year to listen to all of them, but every year we are amazed at the different ways that the confirmands have grown and developed in their faith and experienced God working in their lives. The stories we hear in the faith statements remind us that faith is usually not a straight line from one point to the next. Faith often happens in ways and through experiences that we might not have imagined. And those statements remind us that faith is still a work in progress for the confirmands and for all of us. And so in just a moment, we'll listen to a couple of those faith statements. And as you listen to these faith statements, I invite you also to reflect on your own faith journey. Consider how Jesus is continuing to call you to continue in his word, not necessarily by doing things the way you always have, but by being open to a whole variety of experiences in your life through which God is inviting you to continue to connect and to grow and to develop and to bear fruit in ways that you may not have imagined.